Hello and welcome to Astrobell Live. Jupiter and Pluto are forming their third and final conjunction in the heavens. This configuration has worldwide implications. In a moment, we'll take a look at this aspect in the U.S. 2020 Election Horoscope. There are some themes connected with Jupiter-Pluto. I explore these on several articles on my website, astrobell.com. One of the themes of Jupiter and Pluto is great transition. Most would agree that with the COVID-19 pandemic and the other developments over the course of 2020, that this is a major turning point. And this election will be one more. Another theme is nations become independent or succumb to tyranny. Revolts against totalitarianism have happened again and again when Jupiter and Pluto join in the heavens. And here is one theme of particular importance at the time of the election: death or removal of great families or leaders, and the rise of new ones. And last, state crime and corruption are exposed. Over the course of 2020, the state crime and corruption theme has definitely come to light in our own government. Let's take a look next at the horoscope of the November 3rd election. This is the election chart cast for 7 a.m. November 3rd, Washington, D.C. You can see the sun rising on the eastern horizon in opposition to the planet Uranus. Uranus in opposition to the sun indicates a very unusual and disruptive election. There's likely to be surprise, novelty, and uncommon events. Uranus is a sign of rebellion. The descendant is other people. So people are opposing the sun, the president. I think there's a great deal of opposition indicated in this chart toward President Trump and a desire for change. This comes from, obviously, the opposite party, the Democrats, but also rebelling Republicans who've had enough of Trump, from radical groups around the country that want nothing else but to overthrow our existing government, and foreign players that would like to see nothing more than the disintegration of America. Another significant aspect is the moon representing the public in a mundane chart like this. It's in a 90-degree square relationship with Neptune. This indicates confusion and uncertainty. The people will not be sure of the results of the election. There'll be fear. Indeed, this particular aspect has a lot to do with deception and misinformation. So rumors will abound, and this is a troubling sign indeed. The moon is making a 60-degree relationship with Mars. There's an opportunity for some violence, but I think this will be relatively calm or not be widespread. A more difficult sign in terms of violence and upheaval is the opposition, as I've indicated earlier. The moon is in a separating, see the moon at 12 degrees Gemini, is a separating trine, 120-degree relationship with Venus, Venus being at 7 Libra. This aspect is getting weaker, it's going away. That's what the separating represents. It would normally be a sign then of peace, harmony, and the people feeling pleased with the result of the election, that the election goes smoothly. I think this is in part true. And yet, it would, again, because this is a wide separating aspect, indicate that this aspect is not as powerful as the moon square Neptune, which is an applying aspect, for instance, and so is the moon sextile Mars. One of the most significant features, though, of this horoscope is Mercury. You notice this little S. This represents that Mercury is at its stationary direct position. It's been retrograde. It's now going in the process of moving direct again. This greatly strengthens the influence of Mercury at the time of this chart and in the election. Mercury represents the news media and the opinions and ideas of the people at large, all of which are greatly enhanced. Also, Mercury is west of the Sun, almost at its furthest point west of the Sun, which we call the western elongation. This is a sign that there's a great deal of public opinion that is basically against the president. There's a desire for, again, change and different viewpoints. Mercury is also making a square relationship to the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. You can see the conjunction forming here. This is indicating the possibility of foreign interference, especially through the internet. Pluto representing the internet, Jupiter, foreign influences, and of course, information, news outlets, rumors, ideas, stories, represented by Mercury. Mercury, though, is making a square relationship with Saturn. This tempers this tendency for intense conversations, disagreement over the mail-in ballots are clearly indicated by these squares. There's the need for certainty, the ability or the desire for patience and time required to count the various votes. It looks to me like the possibility of a legal challenge is intensified by this particular aspect, and we may need to allow some time for all the votes to come in. A disturbing chart, and yet one that does give promise. There are signs then in the election chart of a challenge of confidence during this election. There's a need for accurate counting of votes. Time will be needed. The American public will need to be patient. A thorough examination of all sides and questions will need to be made. But clearly, Jupiter and Pluto are representing a great transition and turning point. And most of all, that opposition of the Sun opposite Uranus, clearly a sign of great change, a revolutionary moment perhaps. Thanks for tuning in. This is Bill Hansen.